welcome back to Queer Gals Watch the West Wing.
Episode 16, I can't believe.
We are headed to California.
Yep. Happening. That's enough.
It is a party in the USA, quite literally.
Quite literally a party in the USA. And it is the early aughts, so very excited. Hi, Leigh. How are you?
I'm well. I'm full of the joys of spring.
It's firmly summer. Just like to let you know, it is July, Leigh.
Thrilled to be alive. Can I just say before we dive into it, thank you so much to everyone who's joined our Patreon.
Yes, thank you. We really appreciate it. And
it's honestly so moving.
Like literally, Leigh and I will text each other and we're like, I don't understand. Why do they care? It's too much.
Also, thank you so much for some of the gorgeous emails that we've received, including someone just sent us a selfie of her with her AirPods in, being like, I'm listening to your podcast. And again, I was crying.
Yeah, moved. I can't believe that we're 16 episodes in. I mean, I'm having such a fun time, and I think it's just crazy that other people who we don't know are also having a fun time.
Yeah.
So thank you.
But I feel like I know you. I feel like you're all frisky and free gals, even if you don't identify as a gal.
Yeah, exactly. You're part of the pack now. There's no getting out.
Shall we dive into 20 Hours in LA?
Yes, episode 16, 20 Hours in LA. I'm just going to start with a kind of PSA, which is after the pure unadulterated joy of last week's episode, I am ready for more hijinks. I am ready for some lighthearted fun and frolicking in the Californian sun.
It's only what we deserve after the depths of the death penalty episode.
I know, it's just I feel like we needed a couple of weeks to come back from that, to be honest. And the title of the episode, 20 Hours in LA, feels like it's going to be quite cheeky, kind of school trip vibes.
It's very school trip vibes.
Here's hoping. We open the episode with it's 3 a.m. and we're in a motorcade heading to the airport. I'm already thrilled. Just Jed and Leo in the back of the limo going on a gal's holiday.
It's very us on the Elizabeth line at 5 a.m. being let's not screw up our spray tans, sweating, dragging these suitcases on our way to Croatia.
The only slight buzzkill is obviously Ron from security is there. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ron. It's been a while. So glad you could join us.
Thank you so much. And what Ron is saying is actually very important and pertinent, which is that Zoe has a new handler and Jed is going to meet them.
My beating heart.
You are not ready. And obviously Jed is just being a bit much. And at one point, Leo's just trying to give him some advice and Jed won't take it. And so Leo's response is just to lean back in his chair, fold his arms and go, be that way. And then Jed is like, your impersonation of my mother is getting sharper and sharper. You know that? Why are they an old married couple?
It's so good.
It's so good. And then Leigh, we're boarding Air Force One.
It's happening.
We're going to be on the plane.
It's so thrilling.
Honestly, I was like, where's Harrison Ford?
It's giving Kim Air.
So yes, flying buddy time. All of the gang are here. We're all together on the plane. So Leo isn't going on the trip. He was just traveling in the car with Jed to drop him at the airport.
Which makes sense because in Alyssa Mastromonaco's book, she mentioned that she becomes the acting chief of staff when traveling with the president, which makes me think that the chief of staff doesn't travel with the president, which makes sense.
Yeah, potentially for security reasons that doesn't happen. But yeah, just the gang, just the group hanging out in their little section of the plane, and just Donna and CJ just having a little one-on-one girly chat.
They're just talking skincare, and I love that for you girlies. It's so forward thinking in the 90s to be having some SPF chat. Now, this is very much a hill that I will die on in my own personal life. I will spew the virtues of SPF to anyone who will listen. I will very firmly inform people that they need to be using a night cream, specifically butch women and men. They do not believe me, but they need to invest in skincare just as everyone else does.
Honestly, I just feel like the whole, like a large proportion of society is sleeping on the fact that they should be wearing SPF every day, even in the winter.
Absolutely.
Anyway, enough of that from us qualified dermatologists over here. I will say my last piece on this kind of little moment that we're having is that someone comes and like taps on CJ's shoulder and is like, the president is on his way to the cockpit. And her response is just, this man has got to be stopped. And then she just like hurries off to like save the pilots from Jed Bartlett, just like talking their ear off for the whole flight.
I love that, like, Jed being really annoying to sit next to on a plane is like a continuing multi-episode arc.
It's just a facet of his personality at this point, and I'm so glad that there's been a commitment to this.
Yeah.
But Leigh, we must to our blossoming romance.
Oh my God.
Because elsewhere on the plane, it's just little Zoe Bartlett and Charlie. And they're just like sat side by side. And Charlie's like, listen, I don't know if I'm going to be able to be as attentive on this trip as you'd like.
That's okay. You're working.
Well, I've been trying to listen to some of the many lessons you've been giving me on how to be a better boyfriend. And I know that attentiveness. Boyfriend.
Ding, 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 ding. We're dropping the B word. It's official. I've never been happier.
Young love.
I will just throw out there that I know that like not many people stay together forever with the person that they're with when they're respectively 19 and 21. But unfortunately, my mental health will be unable to brook a breakup between Charlie and Zoe.
Oh yeah, at this point it will be devastating. I'll have to take to my bed. I will have to take to my bed for a day, I think, of mourning.
It will be like the leaving of Steve.
Miranda.
All over again.
Miranda. I'll stop. I'm in 1000%.
Wow, young love. Yeah. I'm crying.
Also, if you were to look back at like the person that you were dating when you were 19 and you were like, oh, they were Charlie Young, they were the like president's personal aide. Like, what an ex to have.
Fee, given that you know who I was dating when I was 19, this feels like a deeply personal attack.
Leigh, you know who I was dating at 19, so I'm not coming at this from any sort of high ground.
If you're listening, love you, Hans.
Yeah, we wish you the best. Actually, I genuinely do. That's sad to say. Genuinely meant it. Anywho, we are off, Leigh, to meet Zoe's new handler. Gird your loins because you're about to meet Gina Toscano.
Wow. Wow. They are just, the new characters that have come in the last couple of episodes have just been an absolute parade of lesbian icons. I mean, first of all, we get Joey. I know that she's like straight in this TV show, but like, you know,
the L word speaks for itself in terms of its reach.
Precisely.
You know?
And now you give us Gina. Like, it's just back to back.
Yeah, like Gina coming in and like having a little bit of a conversation with Bartlett. And he's like, where did you start out? And she was like, I was in ROTC, which is kind of like cadets type thing.
But it's like you do it in university and then you get your university paid for, basically. But then you have to do a certain number of years of military service after you leave university.
Yeah, so that's kind of like got some crossover with a territorial army in the UK, or how it used to function. Wow. So I love Gina because it's yet another cameo from one of my favorite TV shows, ER. And she was a long-running cast member in that as well. She played Dr. Maggie Doyle. And obviously, Dr. Maggie Doyle, we will remember, Leigh, was an out lesbian. So this actor has previously played a lesbian character. So I'm just hoping.
Honestly, like, when you look up black cat lesbian in the dictionary, it should show us Gina Toscano. Is she 100% my type on paper? Yes, she is.
I just feel like I can't. Okay, I can't. We can't lose the episode to this. Right. So Bartlett meets Gina, and we do have confirmation, a bit more information about these letters that have been coming through. And Bartlett's kind of pushing Gina for more information. Letters have been being sent to both Charlie and Zoe around the fact that Zoe's a white woman dating a black man. And obviously there are people in America who hate that and obviously want to send death threats to her and to Charlie. And just confirmation that Gina's like, I'm looking out for Zoe, but I am also looking out for Charlie.
Obsessed.
In her own words, she says, I know what I'm looking for in a crowd, if that's what you're asking, sir.
I'm aroused.
I have a big old crush, Leigh. Big old crush. Then, again, in a classically West Wing batshit turn of events, Bartlett starts referencing the fact that he has other daughters.
It took us till episode. I'm pissed off at Jed on behalf of these other daughters. Unspecified number of other daughters.
We don't know their names. We don't know how many there are.
It took until episode 16 for their dad to mention them.
Honestly, he needs to keep better track of the women in his life. He never knows where his wife is. He seems to have forgotten about his other offspring. Like, bring forth the Bartlett daughters.
My question is, like, are we going to meet some of these other daughters?
I mean, we must. We simply must. Yeah. The other crazy thing that Bartlett says is he's like, oh, you know, like, I know that Zoe's trying to enjoy herself at college, but like, you know, I don't want her doing this. I don't want her doing that. I don't want her going to strip clubs.
Bartlett, you crazy, crazy bitch. Like, what 21-year-old girl is like...
She's 19. Legally, she can't go into the strip club because she's not 21. Like, also...
It's not like a go-to, I would say.
It's like much more likely that she's going to be like sat in the quad drinking wine coolers and like throwing up into a hedge. Like she isn't. Also, question, what is a wine cooler? Because like people talk about them all the time in movies and I don't know what it is as a drink.
I believe it's like a wine and fruit juice.
Oh God, it sounds horrible.
Ew.
Gross. So
Americans, you're crazy. I know that I am one, but like that's crazy.
Just have a Smirnoff Ice, babe. Just get yourself a Bacardi Breezer. Like, come on.
Ever heard of a Mike's Hard Lemonade? You know, like...
Yeah. Anywho, conjecture aside, back in DC, Leo has obviously been left with all of the grunt work. And we have this incredible moment between him and Margaret where like he's at his desk and like Margaret's bustling around and like giving him bits of papers to sign and she's like, no, I'm not there, you're not that person, sign in the bit that I've put the tab next to. And he's like, what's your problem? And she's just like and he was like, I'm sorry we didn't go to LA. And she's just pissed because she's like missed the chance of a day's holiday.
Obsessed.
Also, Leah's put in our shared doc, her bob is always so flicky. And I do feel like the makeup team and hair team had a real day with her for this shot because the bob is insane.
Yet somehow Margaret's pulling it off. I've never known a woman to pull off a flicky bob, but it works for Margaret.
She has simply got no right, and yet she's making it work. And that's part of the power of a woman like Margaret, is because it makes other women think they can have a flicky bob, which is just simply incorrect.
Exactly. Margaret would be the photo you would take into the hairdresser and then you'd leave looking like an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, yeah.
Specifically Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa.
The thing that we do find out is that Leo needs to go and talk to Vice President Hoynes. Obviously, I hate him, but also I love him because he brings drama. Back on Air Force One.
A moment for golden morning light. Just wow. Everyone looks incredible. They're bathed in dazzling gold.
Yeah, it's like CJ's at the front of like the plane, like giving a briefing to all of the press who've come with them to LA. And there was just a choice to have this happening at dawn. And the lighting department turned up, Leigh.
Yeah.
They turned up that day. They were like, oh, sorry, like you want golden morning lights through the windows of Air Force One? Yeah.
We're going to give you sunrise.
Yeah. It's stunning. I listened to nothing that CJ was talking about. But we're checking into our hotels. And yes, it is in fact giving school trip. It's giving... We're building bridges. is Josh and Donna in a hotel room, like sat on the bed, like kicking their shoes off.
It's giving loss of virginity.
It is. It's giving sneaking into hotel rooms, making mistakes, making memories.
Takes me back to a choir trip in roughly 2011.
Just getting fingered somewhere in a state, somewhere in America.
Fiona, how dare you? How dare you?
I was a chaste girl. Nothing under the clothes.
By which we mean I was gay. She was gay.
Yeah, there's some tomfoolery in the air. That's all I'm saying. So Donna is like, oh, did you know, Josh, that Joey is in LA at the moment because she works in California, and she's like staying at this hotel. And Josh is like, is she? Really? Is she? Oh my God, is she? And says it too many times. And so I think it's clear that we're setting up that something's going to happen between the two of them. Yeah,
it's very much giving we're replacing Mandy in quite a big way.
Yeah, like, where is Mandy? She's not on this trip.
She's not, no.
So I kind of love that. But what we do have is this kind of like mildly devastating moment where Donna's like, could you just call her and just stop bugging me? And I'm like, oh, Donna.
Yeah, I feel like her girls have had like a firm talking to with her and been like, you need to get over this thing. And so she's doing that thing now where she's like, I need to not be in love with my boss. So I'm just going to be over it. I'm going to just choose to be over it.
I'm going to be over it. And actually, I'm going to set him up with someone.
Yeah.
And like, actually, that's the best way for me to be over it.
And then I am fine.
I'm fine.
I'm actually cool. Like, I'm actually just his wing woman now because we're just like best friends.
Oh God, it's so toxic. As Josh leaves to go and call Joey, unfortunately, Donna just like calls after him, I have alabaster skin, you know.
A reference to the skincare conversation with CJ earlier in the episode.
Yeah, crazy. Would you like to meet Ted Marcus, Leigh?
Please. Please.
So Ted Marcus is like a big person in film. It's kind of not really confirmed whether he's like a producer or a director or just like a financier, but he's like a big person in film. And he's holding a fundraiser for Jed Bartlett. But he is in fact being played by Bob Balaban, who obviously is an absolute acting icon, but obviously one of our personal faves here on the pod because he is in one of the greatest films ever made, Waiting for Guffman.
If you are, listener, a fan of Schitt's Creek, we would not have Schitt's Creek without Waiting for Guffman.
So just like go to the internet, find it and watch it. It will be just a phenomenal hour and a half of your life spent.
It's a comedic masterpiece.
It's stunning.
But also very clearly with the bleach blonde hair, we're coming back to LGBTQ plus rights.
Yeah, Ted Marcus is giving I'm a gay man.
Yeah.
And it feels quite clear in the costuming and in the performance.
Yes, not in like an offensive James Corden in the film Prom way, but actually in like quite a nuanced, respectful representation of like a powerful gay man way, I would say.
Yeah, not in any way like playing camp.
No.
Which for the time I feel is at least reasonably progressive.
Yes.
But Ted Marcus essentially is pissed off and he's kind of met up with Josh to talk about the fundraiser. But Ted is pissed off because a bill has been put forward to go through the Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be aiming to ban gay people in the military. Mm-hmm. So quite a harmful bill.
Yeah.
But Josh is like, don't worry about it. Like, that will never get through Congress. And if it did get through Congress, it would never get through the Senate. And if it did get through the Senate, like, Bartlett's never going to let that pass.
Yeah. It would be something that he would veto.
Yeah. And Ted's like, you're misunderstanding me. I think it's harmful for it to be put forward in the first place.
Yes, yeah.
Which is, again, correct.
Because we're coming back to the fact that Bartlett has not really been open about his stance on LGBTQ plus issues. He's kind of waiting for the issue to be forced, it seems like. Yeah. And Ted is asking for him to take the proactive step of being an out ally.
Yeah. And just being like, well, if we're putting this bill forward, then we're putting it in the mouths of the press. And then suddenly this is the thing that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Whereas if the bill doesn't come forward at all, then like,
yeah,
that in itself is political action. But in true actually quite camp style, because Josh is like, the president won't do that. Ted's just like, well, we're cancelling the fundraiser then. Everyone take everything away. Give the flowers to the staff. Like, I don't care about the food. It's all cancelled. It's not happening. And Josh is just like, okay, like, I'm going to go talk to the president and like try and get you a meeting, but like, can you not be so much? And listener, I will just have to say that Ted continues to be so much throughout this, and I really love him. Back to DC and just a morning meeting with Hoynes. Rough.
I feel stressed that we need something from Hoynes. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah. So there's a bill about ethanol, the ethanol tax. I don't care about the bill.
I've not researched it because I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't care. But anyway, it's something that is gonna pass or not pass. Again, you can tell how little I care about this. Either way, basically, Leo needs to make Hoynes vote for something that he's been openly against for years, like throughout his campaign in the primaries.
It's something that he's run on, yeah.
Yeah.
So what we do know from our what even is the vice president episode, the vice president, so Hoynes is the president of the Senate. So one of his roles as president of the Senate is he is the tiebreaker. So currently we have 50 senators who are planning to vote for it, 50 senators who are planning to vote against. And that's the only reason why Hoynes' vote is relevant. If it was 49-51, Hoynes wouldn't vote. Yeah. But he needs to cast the tie-breaking vote. So that's why Leo is trying to get him to vote the president's way.
And in Hoynes' words, the Republicans will make me eat it for dinner. Which, like, low-key is actually a fantastic phrase.
Yeah.
And actually, as much as I hate Hoynes, and he's so rude to Leo, like, he's always so rude to Leo, I do respect that he's like, kind of, how dare you come to me on this thing?
Yeah.
On anything else, I'm happy to be that, like, breaking vote. But, like, this is my thing.
Yeah.
Awkward. Anyway, what the fuck is happening? Because we're back in LA and into like one of the craziest scenarios ever, which is just like a crazy speech about like flags and burning the American flag.
Yeah.
So there's a pitch to amend the Constitution to make burning the American flag illegal.
Yeah, and it is a crazy speech about the flag. But apparently this was kind of an issue of the day at the time that people were actually trying to do. But it feels just intensely like quite a time-wasting issue.
It feels like Jed is stuck in a live Reddit thread.
Yes. Just in a live Twitter storm.
Yeah, the team are like, how's he doing in there? And they're like, he's got that look on his face like he's thinking about when he's going to kill himself. It's very much kind of like regular people coming up to a mic and like giving their thoughts. So I think in Leigh's words, we're supposed to think these speeches are Delulu.
Yeah.
We close up this insane flag burning meeting and like Jed is like straight onto a walk and talk with like the squad around him.
It's
like,
a full Taylor Swift girl squad ensemble moment.
Yeah, with like people round corners being like, oh my God, we love you, Jed. Like there's full like groups of fangirls.
It's very Bad Blood.
Yeah, it's giving Reputation. We find out on this walk that like he's like, where's Zoe? Like, what's she up to? And they're like, oh, she's gone for like a really nice lunch, like a LA hotspot to like basically be able to like sit and like look like see, oh my God, like there's that celebrity, there's that celebrity.
Yeah.
And Jed's like, great, well I'm gonna go and have lunch with her. Let's shut down the restaurant, kick everyone out.
It's such classic dad behavior.
And honestly, he's like, why does everyone like going to this restaurant? And they're like, oh, it's because they make guacamole at the table. And he's like, okay, that's fun. I want to go and have guacamole at the table. And Toby like is like, well, I don't think it's that interesting. And then Jed doesn't let Toby get in the limo. He's like, you have to ride in a different limo because you made fun of the guacamole. Smash cut to Zoe and Jed Bartlett at lunch together in an empty restaurant.
And Zoe just saying, I can't believe you did this.
Not a compliment. Not a compliment. Jed's response to that being, this is father-daughter fun time. So Jed and Zoe are having lunch, and then on the table behind them is like the usual gang and a man named Al.
Yes.
And Al is one of the most hateful characters to have been introduced into this show. Truly vile. Like he's giving like LA stats man. Like,
yeah,
I'm a numbers guy.
I hate it.
Like slicked back hair, like the shiny suit. Grim.
It's giving like, I actually have a screenplay that I've been working on.
Oh God, it really is. Actually, yeah, I kind of write in my spare time, but like, I don't know, like if you wanted to read it, maybe let me just play this guitar for you. It's the hinge date from hell. Like it's the hot hookup turned nightmare date. But it's what's good is that everyone hates Al.
Everyone's on the same page, and Al also doesn't care.
And everyone's openly saying to Al's face that like he's really annoying. And he just doesn't care. So Bartlett just leans back in his chair and he says, CJ, has Al said something I should listen to yet? And CJ's like, we'll let you know, sir. Meanwhile, Toby's just chewing gum and like looking gormlessly at this man. And essentially what Al's saying is like, look, these are the stats I have. You should go for this constitution change about flag burning because you're not polling very well with pool and patio types of men.
A moment for pool and patio types as a category of man.
They were also described as overwhelmingly white men, which is just a really funny phrase. They're not just white men, they're just overwhelmingly white men.
Which in like a London context, I would say it's giving Clapham is what I'm envisaging.
It's giving infernos. It's giving fleece gilet wearing chino men. Although I'd say they're probably not, because pool and patio guys, I feel are like middle class guys who like grill on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
Rather than like posh boys.
I think two things can be true at one time,
You're probably true. They're both hateful categories of men. Al is just like so grim. Leigh, would you like to read out what you said about Al?
Al makes my vagina wither and die within me.
Yeah.
I'm barren now, just due to having watched Al on screen.
I am barren. So strong from you. Al continues to bang on about this flag. Like, Leigh, I don't know how to tell you how little I care about this flag shite. I really hate Al. I want him to go. He's ruining my trip to LA. We close up lunch. Jed gets in the car and he's like, men with pools and patios think I'm weak. And as we walk out of the restaurant, there's all of this, like, there's like paparazzi and there's like people wanting to like sneak a peek at the president. I don't know why they think that like this is an LA only situation, but whatever. And Gina is just there. And she like spots a kind of menacing looking white man in the crowd and just is like, hey Zoe, switch places with me, and puts herself between Zoe and this man.
I'm obsessed with Gina. She's so capable.
She's so capable and she's really hot. And I'm also like, I want her to carry me through a crowd like Kevin Costner in The Bodyguard. I want to be in a dead faint.
Yeah.
And her to just like lift me.
Yeah.
And
I want to be like Snow White running through the forest scared of the trees, and then I want Gina just to like scoop me up and carry me to safety.
Yeah. Okay, I'm so glad that we've confirmed that. It's really good. I feel like we're in a good place with this.
Yeah.
It feels healthy.
Shall we to Ted's party?
Oh, yes, because CJ's outfit, Leigh.
She has outdone herself. Be still my beating heart. Oh my God, it's short.
Yeah. It's a cocktail dress.
She's got her legs out for LA.
She's got her legs out for LA, despite her alabaster skin. It's a red, like tight cocktail dress.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled. All I need her to do, Leigh, I just need her to just drop the stole.
We need to drop the stole. Always drop. I get that she's like a serious person, but She can get her arms out.
She's got a great back. She's got a great back. She's got great arms.
Great back.
She's got a great neck, despite her worries.
Oh dear God, CJ is being recruited into being a development producer.
Yes, and this starts a running joke that kind of goes for like the next sort of 10 to 15 minutes of the episode, which is just different characters being like, do you know what a development producer is? And then being like, no, I've got no idea. And so I do feel like the writer's room is just like roasting development producers. Lee's laughing, but obviously for no reason whatsoever, I feel like sometimes development producers do need to be roasted because I think they take themselves far too seriously.
That being said, I am a very serious writer, and any development producers that might be wanting to get in touch with me,
yeah,
do
please.
get in touch. Do get in touch.
Yeah, we're available.
I am available. Please do feel free to get in touch with my writing representative, Andy Townsend. Hey, Andy, love you.
Cue an avalanche of offers. Also, David Hasselhoff makes a cameo.
The Hoff.
Like the literal Hoff. And Donna is beside herself. Donna is just like there, like with a hand on his arm, being like, I'm a real fan, David. I'm not just a Joni come lately. It's not just Baywatch and Knight Rider with me.
It's giving full gal pal Rachel Green. It's giving Fifth Harmony. She's Miss Moving On. She is Kelly Clarkson. She is already gone to find something to live for in this world that is not Josh.
Yeah, it is very Rachel Green at the rooftop party in Friends. Mm-hmm. Josh just says to her, "You're frightening the guests." And she responds by saying, "This is California, Josh, a girl can dream." And then she just goes, "Matthew Perry," and runs out of shot.
Oh,
Matthew, we miss you. But yes, Donna going after Matthew Perry in like 2001. Yes, Donna.
Do it.
Do it. Hey, Joey.
Hey,
Joey's
Joey.
back. Here she is. Just a little moment, just touch in with her and her assistant. And Josh is like, oh, hi. And they have this little like, hello. And I'm just going to say that like when Josh actually flirts, he's very cute.
He's so hot when he suddenly becomes hot when he is actually a wooing, and like I feel like we can see in his eyes as he falls for her, and like I'm like, oh my God, why am I now into Josh?
But I think it's because he knows with Joey that he has to impress her. He's got ground to make up, and like previously when we see him like talking to women, he's always like yeah, like you want me. And so it is fascinating to watch his behavior when he's with someone who's like, no, I need to like prove to her that she'd like me.
Yeah.
And we love to see him graft.
Yeah. Also, like this actress she's just phenomenal. I'm obsessed with her and everything she's in, as well as the L Word. I would also really recommend to the listener the film Coda that she's in more recently, which is incredible. She plays like she is the mother in a deaf family, but her hearing daughter wants to sing, and it's just like a beautiful, beautiful film about like her struggle to connect with her daughter's passion for music, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, we love Marley. We're glad that she's here. We hope she's here for the long haul. I'm so sorry, Leigh, but we do have to flick back to Hoynes.
Can't we just stay in California?
I know. It's a very brief touch-in, which is just like Leo and Hoynes just like out in DC, like under umbrellas, and it's snowing.
Umbrellas and snow is so atmospheric.
It feels very old Hollywood for some reason.
It's giving Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, it's giving It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Leo's like, he is not backing down. Hoynes is not backing down. Leo's like, let me be your guy for a minute. And Hoynes is just like, this is actually nothing to do with this vote. This is Bartlett wanting to get one up on me. And actually, fuck you guys. This is a conspiracy. And like, you know what? You and Bartlett hate me. And that's why you want me to do this, to make me feel like a little bitch. And I just need him to understand that this isn't about him.
Yeah.
Like, honey, there's no conspiracy.
Yeah.
And like, this is something you need to talk through with your therapist.
Yeah.
To Jay Leno.
Please.
This episode is so bonkers. Like, we're just at Ted's party. Like, Jay Leno is there just like chatting with CJ, being like, hey, keep that good news coming. you're helping me out on my show. And she's like, ha ha ha, don't be writing about this. And he's like, why didn't you have the president ride into another tree?
Love the throwback to the pilot.
Yeah. Josh is like putting in the work, flirting with Joey. But again, it's like this awkward three-way flirting, which I kind of love and I'm into, which is just like Josh, Joey, and her assistant who's interpreting for her. It's just stunning. And like all three of them are like, yeah, well, maybe you should come and see me at my hotel. Like maybe we should get lunch together. And then the gang come over, specifically like Toby and CJ. And I don't know if Sam's there. I mean, Sam's very fallen by the wayside in this episode, which I don't really mind.
Yeah.
And just, once again, a moment for Toby Ziegler being...
He is so effortlessly respectful. The way that he just seamlessly like sits to get onto Joey's level so that she can more easily lip read. And he just does it seamlessly and intuitively is... Honestly, I know it's like the bare minimum to obviously make a conversation accessible to the person you're having the conversation with. Yeah. But also, he's just, dare I say, Toby's an empath.
I love Toby. Toby's 100% my type on paper. But I what I love is that Toby's like, hey, like, let's, can I just pick your brains for a minute? Like, I'm really impressed by your work. And I love to see, we love to see a little moment of networking because we don't actually get to see that often. But we have seen it multiple times with Joey as a character in a way that we never see with Mandy.
Yeah. People are like excited to be like, I feel like you're a rising rock star. Yeah. Like, let me connect with you.
Rock star. So he asks, he's like, look, we've been getting all of this data from Al about this flag burning thing. Like, what's your 2 cents on it? And she was like, look, okay, so like, I also get my data from him, but like, I kind of been doing some like extra work. And like, I just want you to know that like, your instincts about Al are correct. Like, he is an asshole. His data is shit. And like, no one actually cares about flag burning, Much like us, no one cares. Yeah. So like, don't waste time on it. Like,
there is not an epidemic of flag burning. We're fine.
We're fine. So the way that the party was like put back on was that Josh promised Ted 10 minutes alone with Jed. Mamma mia. What in fact happens is that they just like have a big argument. Yeah. Which is also kind of fun. And like Jed really loses his rag with Ted. And I think when I first started, like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, I kind of hate that. Like he's just like shouting at like a layperson. Like that's a bit gross. But actually, he's not really shouting. He's just like, can you please properly listen to me? Yeah. Also, something that I respect is that he's like, again, kind of invoking the office that he represents. He's like, I'm the president of the United States, Ted. Like, you're throwing a party for me. You aren't a politician. Yes, I'm grateful for the fundraising that you do for my party, but like, if you decide to take that away, like, I will still be president. Yeah. This isn't high school. And he says, in fact, a direct quote is, don't you ever slap Josh Lyman around again.
We love to see it.
Which I love. And also going back to like our kind of chat last week with like what the role that Josh has is actually about, like it makes sense. And looking back at the way that Ted Marcus does speak to Josh, I'm like, that's insane. Like it's such a powerful job.
Yeah. It's very, and just bear with me for a moment, this whole scene felt very Wicked to me. Like Glinda
Tell
and
me
Alphaba. More. Glinda and Alphaba in the lead up to DG defying gravity. Flying off the handle.
Stunning. Okay, you're crazy, but I love you. Yeah, I think, yes, we did go a bit like, to quote you, shouty, shouty, pouty, pouty. But I did need it because, as I said, Jed is often very mild-mannered and sometimes that comes across as kind of smugness. And actually, I was kind of ready to see him stand up and like throw his status around. Yeah. And then he was like, there's just this like throwaway line to Ted where he's like, look, like, I've just got so much playing on my mind right now.
What is that? What is playing on his mind? I'm so
his
sucked
health?
in. Concern for Zoe and Charlie, maybe?
Like, where is my wife?
Where the hell is my wife?
Where the hell is my wife? Anyway, shall we just a moment for Donna being a better wingman than Josh ever deserved?
Oh, she's breaking her own heart.
Yeah, like it's like the end of the party. They're back in the hotel room. She's just like, you should call Joey.
She wears short skirts. I wear
Yeah,
we won't. Yeah.
but also, yes. Yes. Correct reference. Yeah, so Donna's like, why don't you just go to her hotel room? And he's like, I can't, I don't even know what hotel room she's in. And Donna's like, well, you do because you got that message from her earlier. Like, why do I need to do everything for you? Just go and like, I'll be here, maybe having a cry, maybe calling one of my girlfriends.
Yeah.
And Leigh,
Yeah.
he walks down the corridor to Joey's room and he presses the little buzzer that like flicks a light on and off.
Shook me. I was shooketh.
The twist, the plot twist, because Leigh, the door opens and who's in Joey's room? Al. Gross Al. And do you know what's even worse? He's in a bathrobe.
Yeah.
He's in a state of undress, which means that they fucked.
Yeah, and she's also in a bathrobe.
She's like fresh out the shower. Gross. I did not see that coming. Like she mentions to Josh earlier when he's like, I'd love to see you like again. She's like, oh, I just want to let you know that I came to this party with someone.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's fine. Like, but like, could I call you next time in LA? And she's like, yeah, I'd love that. I just never thought the person that she'd gone to the party with would be Al.
Yeah. Especially when she's just ripped his data to shreds. I kind of love that though.
Yeah. Like how into like, is the sex good? Like, is that what you're in it for, Joey? Like, because that's fine. But also like this man is hateful.
I mean, it seems as though he can sign, which is one good thing in his favor. That's the only thing I can think of as a positive.
Yeah. But also just he's gross. He's gross. Anywho, we're going to close out the episode on Air Force One and with Jed Bartlett just giving Hoynes the support that he doesn't deserve because he's a little prick. And just like Jed on the like airplane phone with his little feet and his little slippers.
He's so adorable. I can't.
I know.
I don't like it when he's sad.
He's really sad and he rings Hoynes.
It's like seeing a puppy sad.
Yeah, he rings Hoynes and actually this is a really kind of like diplomatic conversation he has where he's like, I'm really sorry that I ever asked you to go against this bill. Like, I actually have huge respect for you that you have stayed true to this all the time, like through the primaries, even when you lost, when you joined me, like you've stayed behind like this particular piece of legislation and like good for you because I haven't done stuff like that. Like you've shown more like backbone than I have. And Hoynes is like, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. Sigh. But then Jed's
that was
like,
your in, Hoynes. That was your in for like a
that was your olive
vulnerable
branch
conversation with Jed.
Yeah.
This could have been a partnership from this moment onwards and you just put him like...
You were just like, yeah, like you were wrong. Okay, right, whatever, I'm over it. Anyway, then we like the end of the episode is just like Jed trying to sleep, not being able to sleep. Like, tell us, Jed, what's on your mind?
What's on your mind, hon?
And that's just the end of the episode. Is just him like unable to sleep.
What a poignant ending to an absolute romp of an episode.
To a cuckoo bananas episode, truly.
Yeah.
Should we go into the rapid fires?
Yes. Best fashion, CJ's red dress.
Stunning. Yeah. Also, Joey looked hot at the party.
Yeah.
And literally no screen time for Mandy today.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't in this episode. No one mentioned her name. It's curtains for Mandy.
Yeah.
What could a British or Irish politician never get away with?
I'm going to say shutting down a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
In the middle of the day with no notice.
Yeah, that is actually like such a power move, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think personally, mine is just like having a fundraiser with like legitimate celebrities.
Yeah.
Because that just doesn't happen in British politics anymore. Like celebrities just don't want to associate with politicians in our country anymore. Because it can so easily crash and burn. How long until like a big ticket item like guns, abortion, free speech, religion came up? I feel like they were trying to make the flag burning thing an issue, but like I don't think like stop trying to make flag burning a thing. Like it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
It's giving white people problems. Like please come to me with a real issue.
I just feel like American people are so intense about the flag so much more than maybe any other nation on the planet. You know, when they're like, but it's because women sewed it like during the Civil War when it was like, respectfully, like I went to DC, I saw the flag, like the first flag, like it was cool, but like get a grip.
To be fair, when my cousin was getting married in Croatia to my friend who is Croatian, and it is traditional for the wedding couple in Croatia to walk in behind a Croatian flag, I, quite tipsy, turned to my obviously Irish cousin and said, I will get you a tricolor. You will walk in behind the Irish flag as well as the Croatian flag.
And listeners, she made it happen. She made it happen. And it was iconic, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I feel like a man.
I'm gonna say, let me be your guy for a second.
Yeah, let me be your guy for a second is really good. Also, at the Mexican restaurant with Al, Jed does turn to Al and say, "You're the guy who runs into 7-Eleven and buys Satan a pack of cigarettes."
Obsessed.
Which is like dramatic as fuck.
It's such a put down.
Yeah, and also an honourable mensch, I think, to both men with pools and patios think I'm weak, and don't you ever slap Josh Lyman around like that again.
Yeah.
And Leigh, what moment made you proudest to be an American?
Have you tried the Lancome Sunstick Protector for Face and Lips, plus the Elizabeth Arden Modern Skincare Daily Moisturizer?
Yeah, stunning. I will follow that up with, this is California, Josh. A girl can dream. That's it. I had so much fun in LA. I hope we go again.
Fun. Such fun.
Fun in the number one place for fun.
I love that I have just taught you a random Seattle jingle from the mid-noughties.
Yeah, I don't know. It lives in my head, and like I would say quite often just to myself, I'm just like, fun in the number one place for fun.
If you live in Seattle and you also remember this jingle, please do reach out.
Yeah, because Leigh's like, am I crazy? Did I make it up?
I believe it was for a local casino.
Okay, cool. Okay, and on that note, to the study session.
We're going to dive into the study session that I have been avoiding for quite some time, which is, what even is the Electoral College?
No, I'm so scared, Leigh. This sounds so complicated.
It's not. I promise it's not.
Okay.
It's just, I hate it. I hate the Electoral College so much. I'm sorry to anyone out there who's a fan, but hopefully you won't be by the time I'm done explaining it.
She's here to shit all over the Electoral College.
So, the founding fathers established the electoral...
A good start in no way.
Established the Electoral College as a compromise because some of them wanted to elect the president by a vote in Congress, and some wanted the president to be voted in by a popular vote by qualified citizens, by which we mean white landowning men.
Great.
So not quite actually a popular vote, but what was considered to be a popular vote in the 1700s.
Okay, understood.
Now, we recall in Hamilton when
Thank
Alexander...
you for using this as my access point. It's just Hamilton. I'm so sorry to the people of America, but I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. So thank you. For the purposes of this conversation, pretend that I'm dumb, in the words of CJ Cregg.
We recall the kind of crazed scene where Lin-Manuel Miranda is writing the Federalist Papers.
Oh, yeah.
And he's in his office going crazy writing. So one of those, that was the Federalist Papers that he was writing with two other guys, although he wrote most of them. And in it, he explains why one of the essays that he writes is defending the Electoral College.
Right.
And this is what Alexander Hamilton had to say.
Okay, tell me.
The process of election affords a moral certainty that the office of the president will never fall to the lot of any man who is not in an eminent degree endowed with the requisite qualifications. Talents for low intrigue and little arts of popularity may alone suffice to elevate a man to the first honours of a single state, but it will require other talents and a different kind of merit to establish him in the esteem and confidence of the whole union, or of so considerable a portion as it would be necessary to make him a successful candidate to the distinguished office of President of the United States.
Cool. So what does that mean? Because...
So the Electoral College consists, it's not a place, people are very intent on telling you, if you do any kind of reading about this, they're very intent on letting you know that the Electoral College is not a place.
It's not a college.
It is a college in the sense that it is a collection of people.
Okay, understood.
Which consists of 538 electors, which means that any presidential candidate needs to receive a majority of 270 electoral votes.
Right.
To become elected as the president.
Okay.
Your state has the same number of electors as it does a combined number of senators and members of the House of Representatives.
Okay.
So every state has at least 3 electors. You have 3 electors if you have 2 senators and 1 member of Congress.
Cool.
So there was a reference ages ago to Montana being worth 3 votes.
Right. So
and
that's
that is
3 votes
because
in the Electoral College.
Montana has 2 senators, like every other state, and 1 member of the House of Representatives. But Washington, where I used to live, is worth 11 votes because Washington has 2 senators and 9 representatives in the House of Representatives.
So question, is
Yes.
the amount of senators and Congress people that a state has based on population?
Yes. So
Okay.
every state has 2 senators, and then the number of representatives in the House of Representatives is dependent on population.
Cool. So like California would have like loads.
California has 54.
Okay, cool. This is insane. Oh, okay, and so who chooses who the people in the college are?
We're getting there.
Okay.
So the District of Columbia is also allocated 3 electors and is treated like a state for the purposes of the Electoral College.
That seems fair.
Each candidate running for president has their own group of electors known as a slate of electors.
Okay.
And the slates are chosen usually by the candidate's political party in the state.
Right.
State laws vary on how electors are selected. But it can't be a senator or representative or person holding any office or trust under the United States.
So it couldn't be like a mayor or something.
No. So
So they end up usually being like kind of business people or like community leaders, that sort of thing.
Yeah. People who've like served the party in that state in some way. Political parties choose individuals for the slate to recognize their service and dedication to that political party. So when you cast your vote for president, you are actually voting for your candidate's preferred set of electors.
Okay. So like if I lived in Washington state and I voted Democrat, I am voting for the Democratic slate people to be able to vote in the Electoral College. Is that right?
Yes.
That's so dumb. Okay, continue.
Now, this is where it gets dicey.
Okay.
In that most states have a winner-takes-all system.
Okay, that's legitimately crazy.
So the president who wins the state's popular vote
Just gets all the slate.
gets the whole slate, even if they only won by like 51% to 49, or even like 50.1 versus 49.9.
And this is why you hate the Electoral College.
This is why I hate the Electoral College.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair. And did Lin-Manuel Miranda write about that as well? Or was that like a new thing?
We'll get there.
Okay.
However, Maine and Nebraska are the only 2 states who have proportional representation. So they split their Electoral College votes proportionally based on how much each candidate won by.
Thanks, girlies. We appreciate that.
Love you, Maine and Nebraska. I mean, it's still not perfect. I would still rather it just be a popular vote, but we'll get to that debate in a moment. After the general election, the state prepares a certificate of ascertainment listing the names of the individuals on the slates for each candidate. The certificate of ascertainment also lists the number of votes each individual received and shows which individuals are appointed to be the state's electors.
Okay.
And the meeting of electors takes place on the first Tuesday after the second Wednesday in December. So random, so specific. And the electors meet in their respective states where they cast their votes for president and vice president on separate ballots.
Okay.
Your state's electors' votes are recorded on a certificate of vote, which is prepared at the meeting by the electors. The state's certificate of vote is then sent to Congress, where the votes are counted.
Gosh, that would be a really stressful job, wouldn't it? If you're like getting a piece of paper and like putting it in a briefcase and being like, I've now got to travel from this state to DC and just like hope no one like kills me.
Which is where we get to the fake electors court cases that are currently going on.
The stolen election.
The quote unquote stolen election. So the Republican Party electors are being prosecuted for having forged documents that they were the rightful electors.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so so in several states, the Republican slate of electors tried to go to their state's capital claiming that they were the rightful electors.
It's so dramatic, isn't it? Like,
it's so dramatic.
Like, just don't be a sore loser.
Yes. And then this leads us to how January 6th ended up happening, is because each state's electoral votes are counted in a joint session of Congress on the 6th of January in the year following the meeting of the electors.
Okay.
Yeah. So the members of the House and Senate meet in the House chamber to conduct the official count of electoral votes. So that is what the rioters were trying to disrupt, was the counting of the electoral votes.
And the announcement of what the vote was, is announced by the vice president.
So the vice president presides over the counting of the electoral votes.
And they were mad. They were mad at Mike, weren't they? Because
they were mad at Mike Pence because they felt like the vice president he
should be like disrupting
stall the counting, basically.
Okay.
And then the president of the Senate, also known as the vice president, declares which persons have been elected president and vice president at that time on the 6th of January.
But we do, by that point, kind of already know who it is, though.
Oh, yeah. Most presidential elections are called on election night. But this is just like the ceremonial process that then happens.
Right.
And this is where we get to where I really hate the Electoral College, is because it's possible to win the Electoral College but lose the popular vote.
Okay.
Which is what happened in 2016, 2000, and 3 times in the 1800s.
Okay. Explain that to me.
In 2016, even though roughly 3 million more people voted for Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump, but basically you can see how Trump won the Electoral College in 2016 if we take 3 states. So we're looking at California, Pennsylvania, and Texas. The Democratic Party was only awarded the electors from California between those 3 states.
Okay.
Because Trump won the popular vote in 2016 in Pennsylvania and Texas.
Okay. Which means that he got the whole slate for those.
Yes.
Okay.
But if we add together the total number of votes from California, Pennsylvania, and Texas, in those 3 states, Hillary Clinton won 15,658,117 votes, whereas Trump got 12,139,590 Republican votes, because Hillary Clinton won California by a margin of like over 4 million votes. But in Pennsylvania, she received 2,926,000 votes, and Trump received 2,970,000 votes. So the margin was much slimmer. But the 20 electors in Pennsylvania went to Trump.
Because of the first past the post.
Yes, exactly, because of the winner takes all system. Okay. And in Texas, it was less than 1 million votes between Hillary and Donald. But all 38 Texas electoral votes went to Trump. Yeah. So in this way, you can kind of see that 3 million votes for Hillary Clinton almost didn't matter.
Yeah, which is kind of, from like a democracy perspective, feels like there's a nagging feeling there, isn't it, that your vote maybe doesn't count.
Also, the Electoral College does not provide for residents of U.S. territories, so Puerto Rico, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa.
That's really bad. That's really bad.
Unless citizens in the U.S. territories have official residency or a domicile in a U.S. state or the District of Columbia, they cannot vote in a presidential election.
It's 2024.
DC residents have only been able to vote in presidential elections since 1964.
Oh, because they're seen to be like...
Because the capital, people don't want the capital to be in any one state.
Right. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, fine.
Now we return to Alexander Hamilton.
Please.
He speaks for the Electoral College by saying, the mode of appointment of the Chief Magistrate of the United States is almost the only part of the system of any consequence which has escaped without severe censure, or which has received the slightest mark of approbation from its opponents. The most plausible of these, who have appeared in print, has even deigned to admit that the election of the President is pretty well guarded. I venture somewhat further, and hesitate not to affirm, that if the manner of it be not perfect, it is at least excellent. I mean, Alexander was clearly an extremely camp man and extremely pleased with himself, much in the mode of Josh, dare I say. It was desirable that the sense of the people should operate in the choice of the president, to whom so important a trust was to be confided. This end will be answered by committing the right of making it, not to any pre-established body, but to men chosen by the people for the special purpose and at the particular conjuncture. It was equally desirable that the immediate election should be made by men most capable of analysing the qualities adapted to the station and acting under circumstances favourable to deliberation and to a judicious combination of all the reasons and inducements which were proper to govern their choice. A small number of persons selected by their fellow citizens from the general mass will be most likely to possess the information and discernment requisite to such complicated investigations.
Look, I think that's actually just very rude. It's basically saying that some people aren't smart enough to vote properly.
Basically, yes. And it's also saying that he also goes on to say that a popular vote would lead to tumult and disorder.
Yeah, because God forbid we let people who aren't university educated vote. Is that's what he's saying? And like, I do obviously understand that he wrote this a very, very, very long time ago. But it just feels very, very privileged.
Oh, very. To form an intermediate body of electors will be much less apt to convulse the community with any extraordinary or violent movements. Cut to January 6th. So, what are the pros and cons of the Electoral College? Advantages: smaller states remain important to candidates to campaign in. Candidates don't need to travel the whole country, and recounts are easier because officials can isolate an issue to a particular state.
Yeah.
A la, famously, Florida in 2000. The disadvantages is that lots of voters feel like their votes don't matter. Too much power resides in the swing states. And a popular vote winner can lose the election. In 2024, the top battleground states are said to be Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
I mean, I just don't even really want to think about the election right now.
No, I mean, who does?
It's just stressful. But do you think that there will be a time, like, do you think there will ever be a government in place that will be able to talk about the Electoral College? Or do you think it's just going to be this thing that just lasts forever as like, well, it was a part of like what the founding fathers decided, so like we could never change that? Do you think it's always going to be this like partisan issue?
I think it was historically a much less partisan issue than it is today. Much like many things. And I think there will always be people who there have always been people who call for reform of the Electoral College, and there will continue to be people who such as myself, who call for the abolition of the Electoral College. And, you know, stranger things have happened. You know, things are only impossible until they're not. So I wouldn't rule out that it's possible that a change will be made, particularly in light of what I'm going to get into now, which is the fact that, like many things, the Electoral College has racist origins.
Yeah, I mean, that's just coming into like essentially the sort of like origin of this United States as a formal country, I guess.
Yeah. which is that the Electoral College, when it was formed, favored southern states where slaves made up a large portion of the population. So even though slaves couldn't vote, they were counted in the US Census, which decided how many electoral votes each state got. So therefore, the votes of white people in the southern states counted for more because famously, the slave population of the southern states were counted as 3/5 of a person.
Which we learned from the congressman in, I can't remember which episode it was, but who was
Mr. Willis of Ohio.
Mr. Willis of Ohio, yeah.
So the views of slave owners were unduly weighted,
valued higher
in the formation of the Electoral College because they were voting on behalf of a larger population than they actually represented.
Oh my God. I would just love for someone to like bring that up in a debate, you know, just see Trump squirm about that. It is kind of fascinating that like as you like teaching me about this, in order to explain so many things that now are like part and parcel of the structure of American politics, we're going back to this time where like huge human rights crimes were being committed. And like that period of time is so often put up on a pedestal and like almost like a cloth is thrown over this very important part of American history that it feels like sometimes politics is too scared to look at in the eye.
Yeah. I mean, the 3/5 rule in the census led to the size of the South's congressional delegation growing by 42% on what it would have been. And in the election of 1800, as we also know from Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, metaphorically, to quote Yale Law's Akil Reed Amar, Thomas Jefferson rode into the executive mansion on the backs of slaves.
Yeah.
As a slave-owning Virginian, yes.
Yeah.
So the Electoral College was designed to empower Southern whites, and it continues to dilute the power of Black voters even today because the highest concentration of Black people in America is still in the South, and their preferred presidential candidates are virtually assured to lose their home state's electoral votes.
So it's almost like this amazing thing that we can do, this democratic right that we have to put a cross in a box and vote for someone. Actually, already the cards are stacked against certain parts of the United States. And yeah, so, like I feel like, I mean, I would feel like my vote counted less if I was from one of those states.
Yeah. So 5 of the 6 states where there are populations of 25% or more Black people have been reliably red for several election cycles. 3 of those states haven't voted for a Democrat in more than 4 decades.
Wow. But haven't voted for a Democrat via the Electoral College.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's all starting to make more sense to me.
Yes. Over the years, more than 700 proposals have been introduced in Congress to change or eliminate the Electoral College. Congress came close 50 years ago when a proposal to replace it with a popular vote system passed the House in 1969, but it failed to pass the Senate.
Yeah, that's kind of unsurprising. Do we have like a uplifting...
Yes. So we have Representative Amelia Sykes of Akron, Ohio, has been campaigning for the abolition of the Electoral College.
Tell me more about her.
Yes. She said, "It dilutes our power and we recognize that and we get it and we don't want it. We want our power to be used to its fullest potential."
I'm with her. I mean, I can't vote in the United States, but I'm with her.
And a Gallup poll after the 2016 election showed that Republicans who favored a national popular vote dipped from 54% in 2011 to 19% in December 2016.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's become a much more politically polarized issue than it used to be. But that is me putting my case forward for why the Electoral College needs to die. I'm sorry, Alexander Hamilton, but I'm not with you on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. I feel like in my mind, it was this like completely impenetrable thing that I was never going to understand. But thanks to you and perhaps not Alexander Hamilton's writing, I do now understand what it means.
I just love actually the gumption of being like, this thing that I designed, if it's not perfect, it is at least excellent. I
think I might try and take that into like my everyday vernacular. Like if it's not perfect, it is in fact actually excellent. It's so much. It's so high camp. I love it. Well, I feel like I feel empowered. I feel rageful. I feel like I want to watch Hamilton again.
Yeah. And let's remember those 3 million more votes that Hillary got over Trump.
Yeah, although I can't dwell on that too much because then I will actually just lose my mind. Perhaps we should just get back together next week, Leigh, and talk about some like fun and silly telly.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. We are racing through season 1. Please do reach out to us if you are similarly rageful about the Electoral College or you have any stupid questions that you would like us to explain. We are at Queer Gals Watch everywhere on socials. Also, please do check out our Patreon where we are also Queer Gals Watch. Our email is queergalswatch@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. I did get some on Eleanor Roosevelt, which I'm going to dive into you with at some point, Fi. A listener was very distressed that we had not gone adequately into Eleanor Roosevelt in our First Ladies episode. And so I'm going to have absolutely scintillating tidbits about Eleanor Roosevelt that I'm going to have to explore and bring to you at some stage.
We'll circle back. Okay, great. Well, shall I see you next week?
See you next week.
Okay. Have fun. Be good.